Good day to all of you. Namaskar. Thank you very much, everybody, for joining. We already had Vedapurshanandaji Maharaj, who is the secretary of the Ramakrishna Mission, Jhargram, West Bengal, India. He has been so kind to agree to speak to us today, and he will speak on a very, very important topic, which is the glory of the divine name. And just for your, just to refresh you, we would like to mention to you that next Sunday also at this time, at the same time, we have a lecture by Swami Vedapurshanandaji Maharaj, Secretary Ramakrishna Mission, Bolpur, West Bengal, India. This is Sunday, March 20. He will speak on importance of values in improving our lives. So, for the sake of some of you know Maharajji, those of you who may not know Maharajji personally, let me formally introduce him. Swami Vedapurushanandaji Maharaj joined the Ramakrishna Mission in 1998 at Belur Math, West Bengal, India. He served Swami Ranganathanandaji, the 13th president of the order, for 10 months. The Swami worked among tribals of Abujmar at Narayanpur in Chhattisgarh and at Itanagar, Arunachal Pradesh. He also served as headmaster of Ramakrishna Mission schools at Purulia and Narendrapur in West Bengal, India. Currently, he is secretary of the Ramakrishna Mission Ashrama, Jhargram, West Bengal, India, which runs a residential school exclusively for tribal boys and girls. So, Maharaj, before Maharaj starts his lecture, I would request our spiritual advisor and minister in charge, Udarandaji Maharaj, to kindly speak a few words, and then Swami Vedapurshanandaji Maharaj ji will start his talk. So, Udarandaji Maharaj.
Thank you very much, Nirmalda. I, on behalf of Ramakrishna Vedanta Society of the Philippines, welcome you all. We are really very, very grateful to Vedapurshanandaji for kindly accepting our request to speak. And I'm happy that with only one request, I just said and he readily agreed, and we are very, very grateful to him for that. And I hope that there will be many takeouts by the end of his talk. So without much ado, I would request Maharaj to please take over the mic. Thank you very much, Maharaj, once again for kindly accepting our request. Thank you very much, Maharaj. Mic is yours, Maharaj. Pranam.
ॐ स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः. My devoted pranams to Revered Udaranandaji Maharaj, and my greetings and namaskars to all the devotees and admirers of Ramakrishna Vedanta Society Philippines and all others who are joining this program from all over the world. So the topic that I have chosen for today's talk is the glory of the divine name. It is because it will also give me an opportunity to contemplate on the God and His glories. So more out of Swadhyaya than as a pravachana, I am just starting this class. We have been living in an unusual times for more than 2 years now. The pandemic that has been sweeping this globe has not left anyone untouched. This Black Swan event has drastically altered the way we live and work. If that is not enough, we have this specter of the World War III looming on the horizon. We don't know what is going to happen in future. But at the same time, there is not everything is dark also. There are silver linings. The pandemic-induced restrictions has put brakes on our mad pursuit of worldly things. It has brought a much-needed balance and introspection in our lives. It has made us forcefully realize that we are all one, that we sink and swim together. It has made us realize that no one is safe until everyone is safe. This emphatic revelation of the interconnectedness of our existence, our shared destinies of in this planet Earth, is one of the positive things to emerge out of this pandemic. Even the very fact that I am addressing you now may be attributed to this the influx of this modern technology in our lives. But long ago, one of our Upanishads, Svetasvatara Upanishad, put a challenge before this tech-savvy humanity. It asked, so the human mankind may progress to such an extent, they may roll the space just like a piece of leather, but unless they realize God, their own divinity within, they cannot attain peace in life. Yada charmavad akasham veshteshanti manavaha tata devam avigyaya dukkasya anto bhavishyati. So without knowing God, without knowing our own divinity, we can never be free from misery, however much we may have advanced in science and technology. Now, someone say, we may know the God's particle, but unless we know God, there is no escaping the miseries of life. So this pandemic has made us painfully aware of the harsh reality which we had conveniently forgotten. That is the constant presence of death in the midst of life. Agani agani bhutani gachanti yama mandiram sesham stiratamichanti kim ascharya ataparam. In Mahabharata, Yaksha Prashna, there is a sloka. Every day, all around us, we find death is happening, but some of the people who are alive, they think that they will live forever. But having born in this human body, we know that our life is very fickle. So, as long as our body is healthy, as long as our senses and mind are strong, we have to utilize the time in contemplating on God, in cultivating our spiritual life. In Bhagavata, Prahlada Maharaj, he told, Kaumara Acharet Pragyo Dharman Bhagavatanika Durlabam Manusham Janma Tadapi Adruvam Adridam. The Manusha Janma is Durlabam. First of all, it is very difficult to attain, and it is Adruvam and Adridam. It is not permanent, and it is not very stable also. At any moment, our life can be extinguished. It is so fickle, it is so delicate, our existence on this earth. So, having attained such a state, what is to be done? He says, even from the beginning, from the young age, try to follow the practice of the Bhagavata Dharma, try to remember God. We remember in Viveka Chudamani Shankaracharya also told that Durlabam Trayam Evaitat Deva Anugraha Etakam Manushatvam Mumukshatvam Mahapurusha Samshaya. So it is very rare to get a human birth. It is rare to get the mumukshatvam, the desire, the taste for spiritual life, the desire to attain some higher realities, and also to get proper guidance in the form of scriptures and guru. So having attained all these three things, we should try to progress in our spiritual life. So, but what happens is, in the world, what we see is people run madly behind happiness. They want to be happy. It is nothing wrong. But what happens is, but they never find satisfaction. They never find permanent happiness, and rather all their activities results in only generating more problems for them. This question was put by Vidura to the Maitreyi Maharishi in the Srimat Bhagavatam. Vidura asks, Sukhaya karmani karoti loko natai sukham va anyat uparamam va vindate bhuya tatas eva dukkam yadatrayam eva bhagavan vadena. So, Sukhaya Karmani Karoti Loka. In the Loka, in the world, people do various activities with the intention of being happy. But what happens is, natai sukham va anyad uparamam va. Neither do they get permanent joy, nor does the misery leave them. But on the other hand, vindati bhuya tata eva dukkam. It only leads to more and more miseries, or some new problems are generated. Under these circumstances, what is to be done? So that brings us to the today's topic, the glory of divine name. So having attained this human birth in this world, God very categorically told in the Gita, Anityam Asukam Lokam Imam Prapya Bhajasvamam. Having born in this world, which is Anityam and Asukam, is very categorical, and there is only one thing to do, only one wise thing to do. It is to worship me, to take surrender unto me. So that is what Tasman Mam Sharanagatam Sharanada Tvam Raksha Rakshaduna. In the Shiva Aparadha Kshamapana Stotram, Shankaracharya sings Ayu Nashyati Pashyatam Pratidinam Yati Kshayam Yavvanam Pratyayanti Gata Punarna Divasa Kalo Jagat Bhakshaka Lakshmi Toya Taranga Banga Chapala Vidyut Chalam Jeevitam Tasmam Mam Sharanagatam Sharanada Tvam Raksha Rakshaduna. Because this every moment this life is waning, and this birth, this youth, everything, our strength, everything is wasting away, and the time that is gone will never come back again. The Kalo Jagat Bhakshaka, the time is a great devourer, it devours everything. And the Lakshmi, the money for which people devote so much of the time and effort, it is chapala, it is whimsical. We never know when it will come and when it will go. And Vidyutchalam Jeevitam, the life is just like a flash of lightning. It may, 1 second it will be there, next second it may not be there. So the only wise thing for a human being is to take surrender under the feet of God. So that is the most wise thing to do. But having decided that, how to attain God, how to reach God, again scriptures show us the way. It says in the Satya Yuga that it is very easy to attain God through meditation, whereas in the Treta Yuga it is through the performance of yajna, and in the Dwapara Yuga it is by worship, whereas in the Kali Yuga in which we are living, it is only by the taking the God's name. Kritayet Dhyayato Vishnu Tretayam Yajato Makai Dwapara Paricharyayam Kalau Tad Hari Kirtana. In the Bhagavatam says, for the Kali Yuga, the best practice to reach God is by taking His holy name. So that's only Gita also told, Vilyagyanam Japa Yajnosmi. And we have to remember God somehow or another. In the Gospel, one devotee approached Sri Ramakrishna and asked him, Thakur, that I am not able to meditate on God, neither I could repeat His name, do japa. What is the way? Then Thakur told, it is enough that if you can remember Smaran Manam, it is enough you can remember me, remember the God. So the remembrance of God is very important, and we can remain in touch with God through various ways. So our scriptures gives that option. In the Bhagavata, if you remember, it says, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, Pada Sevanam, Archanam, Vandanam, Dasyam, Sakyam, Atma Nivedanam. It is called Navada Bhakti. Somehow or another, through some means, we have to remember God. It can be through stotras, it can be chanting, recitation, it can be Sankirtana, Parayanas, it can be listening to talks, it can be discussing with God's name with others. Somehow or another, Satata Yukta, that's what the condition which God puts. Tesham Satata Yuktanam Bhajatam Priti Purvakam Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam Yenamam Upayantite. He who is always connected to me, and worship me with a lot of love and devotion, I give him that Buddhi Yoga, and with the help of which he attains to me. So, what on our part, what we have to do is to hold on to God through any means. Then he on his part he tells, Teshamagam Samuddatta Mrityu Samsara Sadara Bhavami Nachirat Partha Maya Veshita Chetasam. He whose mind is fixed on me, I take that responsibility of carrying him over this ocean of samsara, and I give him liberation. So it is very easy and to remember God, to rejoice in His name, and that becomes very easy if we devotees come together and discuss with one another the glories of God. That also in the Gita, Krishna he encourages. He says, Machchitta Madgata Prana Bodhayanta Parasparam Katayantascha Mam Nityam Tushyanti Cha Ramanti Cha. So the real devotees, it is like the hemp smoker who takes delight in the company of other hemp smoker, as Thakur told. The real devotees also, they find joy in the company of other devotees. They like to share what they have read, what they have taught, what new ideas come, what new experiences they had in the spiritual journey. They like to share one another, and that it's also a spiritual practice, because in our discussions, it is only the God who is present there. It is Holy Mother gave one a good example. She said, say when you handle flowers, after some time you get the smell of the flowers in your hands. Or if you are preparing the sandal paste, and after the work is finished, your hands you will have this sandal smell. And same in the case of God also, continuously contemplating on God through any means will help us to get a taste of His name. But the best way and is to take a initiation from a Siddha Guru, approaching a Guru and taking the mantra from him, and repeating that Siddha mantra will put us on a sure path to the God. And while discussing this glory of the divine name, another point which we have to maintain is the importance of establishing a relationship with God. So it can be, we have so many Babas, like a friend, like a God can be our father, like it is Gita, it is told. Gatir Bharta Prabhu Sakshi Nivasha Saranam Sudrat Prabhava Pralayasthanam Nidanam Bijam Avyayam. So you can think about God in any way, but if you have established a relationship with God, then a question of intimacy comes. No more there is a distance between you and God. He is one among your family. He is just like anyone, just like Arjuna told, Saketi Matva Prashavam Yaduktam Ye Krishna Ye Adava Ye Saketi. So that intimacy, that closeness comes if we can establish some relationship. God may be our father, God may be our mother, God may be our child, He can be our friend. So that establishment, so then we can share all our complaints to Him, then He can help us. So that is a very much, it is advised in the spiritual life. And in the Latu Maharaj, once he was asked a question, and someone went to Latu Maharaj and told that you are telling about yes. So Latu Maharaj, some disturbance. Okay.
Ranaji,
So,
please.
Latu Maharaj was,
Please mute your mic. It is done. Okay.
Okay.
yes. So Latu Maharaj was once asked, God, we do not know anything about God, where He lives, and we do not have any connection with Him. So how do we know that He listens to our prayers? Or okay, I may consider God as my father or mother, but how? Whether does He knows me? Whether does He recognize me? The Latu Maharaj saying the you sent application to officer whom you do not know in government. In our official works, sometimes we write applications to so many officers, whom we do not see, but still we find that our application is processed and our work is accomplished. In the same way, Lata Maharaj told, you send your prayer to God and you will see that you will receive His grace also. Yeah, and so do not have the doubt. I do not know God, then how can I have a relationship or how can I pray to Him? So God listens to even the footfall of ants. That's what Thakur used to tell in the gospel. He is so acute. So that's how the greatness of God's glory. And coming particularly to today's topic, the glory of a divine name, uh, God's glory is limitless and His name is also limitless. We have seen the Lalita Sahasranama, Vishnu Sahasranama, so thousands of names are there in God, but all these names, in all these names, it is only God alone is present. Whenever we discuss on the glory of divine name, we invariably refer to that Siksha Ashtakam written by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, where in the second stanza he sings, Nam Nam Akari Bhaguda Nija Sarva Shakti Tadarpita Niyamita Smaranena Kala Etadrishi Tava Kripa Bhagavan Mamapi Durdaiva Midrisham Igajani Na Anuragata. Means, oh God, you have created so many of your, there are countless holy names of you, and in all those holy names you have infused your power. It's not that one name is superior or another name is inferior. In each of the holy name, it is the God's power is there present. He has invested his transcendental energy in that holy name. And then Tadarpita Niyamita Smarane Nakale, and then you have not imposed any hard and fast rule to take your holy name. It is available easily for everyone and without any restriction. At any time, any place, in any circumstances, you can chant the name of God. You have been so kind on your part, but just think about my own wretchedness. But Etadrishi Tava Kripa, your Kripa is so abundant, boundless, but such is my condition, but I am not able to take advantage of your kindness, the accessibility of your holy name, the potency which your name commands, it is so freely available, but I do not have any attraction to it. So that is our tragedy. We do not have any attraction to the divine name. The people say there is a dryness. When I start repeating the japa or repeating the name of God, I cannot proceed after some time. A dryness comes. Then how can I take delight in God's name? This same question was put to Sri Ramakrishna. In the Gospel of Ramakrishna, someone on our behalf, thankfully, he went to Thakur and said, how can I take delight in God's name? Thakur told, you pray to God with a yearning heart that you may take delight in His name. He will certainly fulfill your heart's desire. If you do not, actually God is the solution for all our problems. If we are not able to get delight in His name, that also you convey it to God. God, I want to pray you, I want to contemplate on you, I want to dwell on your glories, but my mind is not cooperating. It is creating problems, it is creating, there is a resistance. What shall I do? You please help me. So Thakur is telling you, pray to God with a yearning heart and He will fulfill your heart's desire. And then the second point which Thakur tells is, you should cultivate a taste for God's name. It is an acquired taste. It is like it does not come initially just because you go and sit and take the God's name. Unless you have a very good samskaras, we don't easily get attracted to God's name. It has to be cultivated, and that comes only by repeated practice. Thakur tells, any name will do, Durga, Krishna, Shiva, if through the chanting of the name, one's attachment to God grows day by day. It is a Dirgha Kalena Nairandarya Satkara Sevito Drada Bhumi. In spiritual practice, it is only by long, consistent, persistent effort alone we attain perfection. So even in the case of God's name, it is only through chanting of God daily, little by little, our attachment to God grows. The taste in His name grows, and once the taste comes, once the joy comes, Thakur tells you have nothing to fear. Then slowly, these worldly desires will leave you, and the grace of God will descend upon you. And so that is the first point I would like to share with you. Then the second thing is, which it is told in all our Shastras, and even Thakur also told, that Nama and Nami, they are Abhed. The God's name is non-different from the God himself. So in the Gospel, Sri Ramakrishna tells, the name of God is not a trifling thing. God is not different from his name. He tells the example, a story, when once in Dwaraka, Satyabhama was trying to balance Krishna with gold and precious stones. Uh, on the one side, he made Krishna sit Krishna, and the another pan she put all the gold and precious stones, but somehow it could not balance. Krishna was always on the heavier side. So then Rukmani came to her rescue, and she put a tulsi leaf with the name of Krishna to counterbalance the Lord himself. And immediately it so happened that the balance now were together. That was to show, Thakur tells, just the name and the God, they are non-different. And God's name, even though apparently is so simple, it has so much power, potency within it. Once someone went to Holy Mother and showed a small seed of banyan. The banyan tree is a huge, but its seed is very tiny. And they went with a wonder, they went to Holy Mother and said, Mother, you see, such a tiny seed, and from this, in time, a huge tree comes out. Then Mother tell, what is there? Even God's name also is like that. It is very small, but from there you get in time Bhava, Mahabhava, everything comes from that holy name itself. So God's name is very potent, but we do not have that faith. Once in the Thakur's life, Swami Yogananda Maharaj, when he was a young man, he went to Sri Ramakrishna with a particular problem. He said, I am troubled by my sensual desires, Kama Vasana. Then Thakur told, okay, I will give you a God's name, you please repeat. So no more your desires will trouble you. But Yogananda Maharaj did not believe that. Somehow he did not have that faith. He saw such a simple solution for a complicated problem like this. He could not have faith. Rather, he went to there was a Hatha Yogi called Narayana at Dakshineshwar. He went to the Hatha Yogi and he wanted to practice some sadhana, something, some kriya, so that his desires can be quenched. But Thakur forcefully took him away from the Hatha Yogi and told, you have faith in the name that I gave you and you practice it. And Yogananda Maharaj practiced the name Thakur gave, and in course of time he attained perfection. In fact, later Swamiji told, among our brother disciples, Yogananda is the only person who has completely conquered lust, even in the body. So that is another patent example for the glory of the divine name. And in Thakur's life itself, all of us know what happened when Thakur visited Varanasi. He was going on a boat and at the Manikarnika Ghat, and he had a divine vision. He saw the Mahadeva himself going to all the pyres were burning, and the Lord Shiva himself going to each body and reciting the Taraka mantra in the ears, and the Mahakali cutting the bonds and liberating them. And this sloka, Shankaracharya recently Shankaracharya in his Rama Bhujangam had mentioned this thing, the same happening that is happening at Kasi. even now. The sloka is like this: Yada Varnayel Karna Mode Antakale Shivo Rama Rameti Rameti Kasyam Tadekam Param Taraka Brahma Rupam Bhajeham 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 Bhajeham. In the Rama Bhujanga Stotram, Shankaracharya describes this. In the Shiva, Rama Rameti Kasyam. In the Kasi, Shiva goes about telling Rama Rama Rama, this Taraka Brahma Rupam, in the ears of all the dead people, Karna Mode Antakale. Then what happens? They become liberated. So such is the glory of God's name. Even when you are dead, even after our death, if the Lord Himself comes and utters to our soul, and it has the potency to liberate us. But there are few fortunate people who are fit aspirants who just mere once they hear the name of God and all the bondages drops themselves and they go forward and attain the spiritual realization. In the life of Ramana Maharishi, we again see this example. He was just a 17-year-old boy and once accidentally he heard the name of Arunachala, the Lord Shiva's name at the Arunachala Shiva. And the moment that name created a strange, strong reaction within him, a lot of transformation came. He went out of his home and a 17-year-old boy, he left his house and went to that Arunachala at the place Thiruvannamalai and attained his supreme realization that later he remarked, just once I heard your name and your name forcefully dragged me inside and through which you made me know your greatness. Our problem is all our senses and mind, they always takes us outside. Paranchikani Vetruna Swayambhu Tasmat Paran Pashyati Na Antaratman. We do not see what is inside us. All our time, our efforts, our attention is focused outside. But the God's name, what it does is, it turns our attention within. It turns our focus within, and that way it helps us in connecting with God. And so, between God and God's name, which is more powerful? So it is somehow a very naughty question, if you can say. If someone asks me at the end of the lecture, you say God and God's name are the same. Between them, who is more powerful? So before you ask the question, I myself give the answer. In the Ananda Ramayana, there is a story, and Narada was asked the question. And because he creates problem everywhere, so someone wanted to put him into trouble. So they asked Narada, you tell me God's name is powerful or God is powerful? Then Narada told, no, God's name is more powerful than God. Then they told, oh, okay, you have to prove it. Then Narada told, okay, I will prove it, only you give me some time. So then the story goes, the Raja of Kasi, he was doing a yajna, and it's a big affair, so he was naturally very busy and he was very distracted. And at that time, the Vishwamitra appeared to come to his yajna mandapa. And this Kasi Raja, he did not receive this Vishwamitra properly. And the sage became very angry and he thought he had been insulted by this king. So he went to his disciple. Who is the disciple of Vishwamitra? It is Lord Rama. So he went to Rama and told, oh Rama, there is a king of Kashi who insulted me. You go and punish him. You take him prisoner and bring him here. Then Rama went because he cannot disobey his guru. So Rama went to Kasi to take this king captive. And now this Narada, he was watching all this, so he went running to this king and told that Lord Rama is coming to take you in prison. So you immediately you go to the Anjana. who is Anjana? Anjana Devi is the mother of Lord Hanuman. So only Anjana Devi can save you, no one else can save you. Go and take surrender at her feet. So this Raja went to the Anjana Devi and said, Mother, you please protect me. The Rama is coming to kill me. Then Anjana Devi called her son Hanuman and he told Hanuman, my son, this man, this king had sought my protection. Now it is your duty to protect him. Now the fate has put Rama and Hanuman on the opposite camps. So on the one side there was Lord Rama with all his bow and arrows ready to shoot. On the other side there is his faithful servant Hanuman. By quirk of fate, he is there. He has to now fight against Lord Rama, and neither Hanuman can disobey his mother's instruction, nor Rama can disobey his guru's instruction. So Narada was enjoying all the fun, putting these two people into this delicate situation. And now, what Hanuman cannot lift his any arrow against God. So what Hanuman did, a very wise thing. He is a Buddhimatam Varishtam. He is a very wise, erudite person. So what he did is, he simply sat and started chanting Rama's name. And Rama was shooting the arrows, and the arrows approached Hanuman. But around Hanuman there was a kavasha, there was a mantra kavacha, there was a protective armor. What is that armor? It was the name of God, Lord Rama itself. It was protecting him as it is. And so these arrows become very powerless. They just went round and round and finally went back to Rama. And Rama became helpless. He don't know what to do. And before his name, the Rama become helpless. Now our Narada told, okay, see now have you got my answer? Have I proved my point that the Lord's name is more powerful than God? See that before the repetition of God's name, God is helpless. He don't know what to do. But then the story goes, Vishwamitra tells Rama, you please don't forgive the king, and then everything ends well. But these type of stories are there in our Puranas. It is just to make people have that faith in God's name, because the main problem is we hear all lectures, we read Shastras, but somehow or another that faith does not come to us. The Shraddha does not appear in our heart. A story goes like this. There was a guru, and the guru has a lot of disciples, and those disciples, they serve the God, they serve the guru with lot of devotion, and in return they expect that the guru will share all his knowledge to them. And then it so happened once the guru was about to die, and all his disciples gathered around him, and they asked the guru, oh my teacher, you are about to depart this world. Is there anything which you have not taught us? Is there anything which that is left to be taught? You please give us those instructions. The guru told, no, I have told you everything. Whatever I know, I have shared it with you. There is nothing, no more instructions for me to give. But some of these disciples, they were not so much satisfied. And suddenly, at that time, a devotee, another one, a person appeared in their midst. He came flying. He just appeared in the midst. He came flying and appeared before the guru. He had come from a long distance, and he had got some siddhi, some miraculous power. He learned that his guru is about to pass away. So to pay obeisance to his guru, he came and offered his pranams to the guru. Now the disciples who are surrounding the guru, they become very angry. See, here we are serving this guru day and night, but he has not shared all these secret mantras with us. And this man, we have seen him. Even one day we don't remember when he approached our guru, when he served, we never knew. But this man, he had got this power from our guru. Our guru is very partial. He has, why does he give all those things to that man? Why has he deceived us? So this anger came to their minds. Then they vented it to the teacher. Then teacher called the humble man and said, "You, our disciples are very angry with me. They have mistaken me. You please, can you share what instruction I have told you?" Then the man told, "Sir, you just told us kudu 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 kudu." So it's just like that, some strange sounding word, syllable. Then this only you have told me, and you told me just to practice this with full faith and concentration. So having told this, now the teacher addressed his other disciples. Do you understand? See, I have not given anything very exotic or very anything special to him. I, in fact, seeing him unlettered, seeing him of a dull intellect, I gave him a very some words which he practiced it with so much of faith and concentration and devotion. It was his faith, his concentration, his devotion, his single-mindedness which was responsible for him acquiring all the powers. On the other hand, you people, I gave you even more potent mantras to you, but you add that lurking doubt in your mind that maybe there is something more. Maybe this mantra is not so powerful. Maybe there are many more powerful mantras are there outside. So this doubt, this unintentional doubt that has crept into your mind is the reason which you have not attained perfection in your spiritual life. So the first thing we have to cultivate is to have full faith in the name of God. Whatever, all the names of God are equally powerful. They represent God Himself, and any name, when it is practiced with Shraddha and Bhakti, will give us the same result. So that is what we have to remember. And finally, and this another, while we discuss the glory of names, in the Bhagavata there is another story. The story of Ajamila, which I think some of you may have already heard. Ajamil he was a Brahmin, he was a devoted Brahmin, and he was performing, he used to very, very with great devotion, he used to follow all the rituals of his caste, and he led a very dharmic life for a long time. But as fate would have it, suddenly once he had a fall, he was attracted towards a prostitute, and he left his wife and his children, and he started living with this woman. And through that woman, he, in course of time, he had 10 sons. And the last of the children, he named as Narayana. And this Narayana, this baby, he was very dear to his father, Ajamil. He will all the time he will be calling Narayana, Narayana, Narayana. So this man, in course of time, he died. Now, to take his soul, both the Yamadutas and the Vishnu Dutas, both of them came. And the Yamadutas, they gave a big list of the sins which he has done in that life. And on the other hand, the Vishnu Dutas, they told, no, all these sins, they are immaterial. He has uttered the name of Narayana at the time of death. So that has atoned all his past sinful actions. And so a war of words ensued, and finally it was settled that mere utterance of the God's name, even though it was addressed to his only the child, is enough to remove all the lifelong bad things which he has done. And he went to the Vishnu Loka. So this is the story you will find in the 6th chapter of the Bhagavata. And saying this story, the Bhagavata tells Sanketyam Parihasyam Va Stobam Helanamyabhava Vaikunta Nama Grahanam Ashesha Aga Haram Viduku. Means Sanketyam means indirectly. It was not meant for the Lord Narayana, it was meant, he meant his son Narayana. But even then, Sanketyam, even indirectly, if you take the name of God, or parihasyam, jokingly, out of fun, just in jest you take the name of God, or stobam, as a musical entertainment in songs, you take the name of God, or kelanam, neglectfully, without proper attention. But whatever way, in however manner, whatever manner you take the name of God, but ashesha agaharam, countless unlimited sins which you have done in the life will be removed. So this is the promise which the Bhagavata gives to all of us through the story of Ajamin. So it comes as a very inspiring story. And finally it tells, Mriyamano Hare Nama Granan Putropacharitam Ajamino Api Agadama Kim Muta Shraddaya Granam. That means, even at the time of death, the Ajamila chanted the name of God, just thinking about his own son, and that ensured that he went to the God's abode. But if a person, even when he was living with a lot of Shraddha and Bhakti, if he repeats the name of God, how definite will be his going to Godhead. So it is very much definite. So Abhichet Sudaracharo Bhajate Ma Ananyabha Sadhurega Samantavya Samyak Vyavastito. He said, even a fallen person, however bad a person, if he had rightfully determined and repeat the name of God in whatever manner, it is definitely going to liberate him. So that's why in our tradition we used to give the name of gods and goddesses to our children, so that by calling them we will be remembering the God, we will be uttering the name of God. But the tradition is slowly dying away, but it has a great meaning. I think my time is coming to an end, but finally, just to wrap up, benefits of God's name. One thing is purification of the mind. That is very much we know. Cheto darpana marjanam bhava maha dhavagni nirvapanam, means the utterance of God's name cleans the mirror of the heart and extinguishes the miseries of the worldly existence. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu tells. Thakur himself told, if you go and clap under the tree, all the birds that are sitting on the branches will fly away. Similarly, if you clap singing the name of God's glory, then all the sins will leave your body. So that's one example he gave. Another example he gave is, water in the reservoir is dried by the sun. In the course of time, all the water in a reservoir is evaporated by the heat of the sun. Similarly, the reservoir of sins, they dry up by singing the name and glories of God. So, use the God's name purifies our mind. The Holy Mother tells God's name purifies our body also, not only the mind. She tells the story of Narada. Once Narada went to Vaikuntha, and at that time he was not initiated. And after he left, Narayana told Lakshmi, you please clean that place with cow dung. He has soiled that place. Then Lakshmi asked, Narada is your great devotee, why are you telling? Then Narayana told, no, he has not got initiation, and so his body is not pure. And a body cannot be pure without initiation. That this story Holy Mother tells in her Mayar Katha, you can find it. And another thing Holy Mother tells is Prarabdha Kshaya. By repeating the name of God, our whatever Prarabdha which we are destined to experience in this life, that the intensity of our bad karmas can be reduced by the repetition of God's name. Mother tells everyone must experience the consequence of his past actions, but the remembrance of God's name helps one this much. Instead of losing a leg, one may suffer merely from a thorn entering one's foot. Suppose you are, according to your prarabdha, you have to have your legs cut off, but due to your repetition of God's name, the karma phala will be reduced to such an extent, it will just with a mere pinprick, it will remove. And the third advantage of repeating the God's name is, it purifies our subconscious mind. Our subconscious mind, as we know, is the storehouse of all our samskaras and vasanas, and repetition of mantra and the worship of God, contemplation of God, it purifies our subconscious mind, and it also awakens our hidden samskaras. Sometimes any amount of sadhu sangha, any amount of scriptural study, any amount of tirtha yatras or charity won't lead to spiritual awakening than what a mere touch of a guru does. So the spiritual initiation, the repetition of mantra awakens the hidden samskaras within us. And as I told before, the mantra acts as a protective armor around us. If a person goes out after repeating the God's name, the God's name protects him. It's like a protective armor around us, and apart from that, it gives us mental peace and contentment, and it elevates our mind. So there are so many advantages in repeating the name of God, but still people come and complain that they do not have peace of mind. Once a devotee went to Holy Mother and told, Mother, I do not have peace of mind, what to do? Mother told, you do 20,000 japas and then come and complain. You don't do anything. I do 1 lakh japa, and but you do not do anything. At least you do 15,000, 20,000 japas, and then you come and complain to me. There won't be anything to complain. So that is the glory, and in the life of Sri Ramakrishna, you will find the Gopalar Ma is a very good example of what a devotion to holy name can do. So when Nivedita went to visit Gopalar Ma, Swamiji told that is the old India that you have seen, India of faith and tears, of eternal austerity, which is slowly passing away. So Gopalar Ma, she is a simple woman, and she was a young widow, and she had no one to call her own, and all he had is Nirdana Jana Dana Ram, as the song shows. For one who has nothing, the wealth is the God's name alone. So for just she, God's name was the only alambana which she had, only support which she had. Just depending on the name of God, she had the fortune of serving Sri Ramakrishna himself. She had the vision of her chosen deity in Sri Ramakrishna, and she served and she attained the highest perfection. Once Thakur told Naren, this Gopalarma, she is telling she is seeing Krishna in flesh and blood. Then, do you believe it? Then Naren talked with Gopalarma, and he was moved by her story. So, the simple and faithful repetition of God's name can transform our life. Even ordinary people can become extraordinary, can become saints. So, that is the power which is there in divine name. We can go on and on, as Tulsidasa used to tell, Hari Ananta, Hari Katha Ananta, and Hari Mahima also is Ananta. And so, just for the past few minutes, we were contemplating on the glory of God's name. It's just a bird's eye view of some of the important ideas connected with this topic. With all my imperfections, I hope I have done some justice to all of you. Hopefully, it is not waste of time. With these words, I thank once again Swami Vedapurushanandaji and other devotees of this Ramakrishna Vedanta Society Philippines for inviting me and giving me an opportunity to contemplate on the glory of God's name. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Maharaj Ji. It was such a useful lecture on God's name, and as you mentioned, God's name has a lot of potency. It leads to purification of mind, and remembrance of God's name. Our karma phala will get reduced. Basically, uh, you explained how God's glory is limitless, and we should cultivate the taste for God's name. So maybe it will come through practice. So we have to be really patient with our taking of God's name. And with these words, I would like to invite questions or observation. So very useful lecture on how to purify our heart taking God's name. So you can ask your questions or you can make your observation one by one. Please introduce yourself and please be precise. Hiranya, do you have any question?
Oh, no.
Mohanji, please ask your question.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Maharaji. Pranam. I've noticed, or I find people even in temples chanting a mantra at the same time having a cell phone in the hand, sending and receiving messages. Is there any value to that kind of chanting, Maharaji?
We cannot totally say it is valueless, at least. So as I told you, anyway you take it is better than just talking on cell phone. Of course, it is not advisable. We have to repeat the God's name with full concentration, with devotion, and with faith. So that is when the God's name will give the full benefits. That's when we can get the full benefits. But instead of doing anything, at least they are practicing even mechanically or imperfectly. So it is better than not doing anything at all. So that way we can say it is better, but it is certainly they can do more. As I remember Thakur's story, one hand you hold God and another hand you do the things of the world. Maybe they are following this.
Pranam Maharaji, thank you.
So you are welcome to make any other observation, or if you have any question, you are welcome. Rosanna, do you have any question? Arlene, do you have anything to observe or any question? Rosanna, you wanted to say something.
Good evening, Pranam Maharaj. I just wanted to affirm, I'm very thankful for your lecture tonight because in our tradition, Catholics, we also have this rosary, and there are times that we are just doing it also mechanically, just like in other traditions. So, but I'm very enlightened by the stories that you have mentioned regarding the chanting of God's name, especially with devotions and full trust. Thank you. Thank you.
Arlene, you wanted to say something? Please, you are welcome.
Good evening, Maharaj. I just wanted to thank you for the lectures. I was also enlightened. And as what Mr. Sama is saying, as a Catholic, we've been doing the rosaries and everything. But I agree with one of the questions that some of the Filipinos as well are chanting and praying the rosary, and yet they're reading some messages in their cell phones. So, in addition to that, I can I ask if does it worth? I mean, chanting, having the rosaries, and reading a message at the same time, Maharaj?
Maybe they are giving us the message, don't do this. Maybe they are They are wanting to teach us a lesson. They are reminding us what not to do. Of course, it is wrong. Of course, it is wrong. So even it is better Tajjaba Tadartha Bhavanam in the Patanjali Yoga Sutra, how we should do japa. So you have to do japa by contemplating its meaning. So your mind should be totally focused on what that japa signifies. So that we should dwell on the significance of that japa, or we should dwell on the sound which that mantra generates in our heart. When you repeat a mantra, it generates a sound vibration. So you focus on that sound that is generated, or you focus on that form of the mantra, or you focus on the form of the deity. So we have to, that bhavana is very important. And if the bhavana, corresponding bhavana is not there, that japa has become just a mechanical exercise. It is not leaving any impression on our mind. So it is not effective. But as I told you, something is better. Maybe in some later they will realize the mistake, and but this practice of it will leave some impression in their mind, and whenever they can give up that distraction, then it becomes easier for them to focus their mind. So when we see those things, we should get lessons for our own life, and we should also pray for them that may God show them the way.
Thank you, Maharaj. Pranam. Thank you.
And thank you so much, Maharaj. One question or thought is kind of kindling and rekindling my mind. That is, you talked about dryness. You said that we do not have we do not have enough attraction to God's name. So, any tips when which inspire us to take God's name? We develop interest, have motivation in taking God's name. How
Yes.
to tackle the initial boredom of taking God's name or making japas and getting distracted.
So I was expecting this question, and since most of you are Catholics, I thought some example from your tradition will be helpful. All of us know the Saint Lawrence, the practice of the presence of God. So Saint Lawrence, and he gives advice. He says the one way to recall easily the mind in time of prayer and preserve it more in rest is not to let it wander too far at other times. So if you want to remember God easily in times of prayer, do not forget Him at other times. So you should keep it strictly in the presence of God, being accustomed to think of Him. If you say now and then throughout the day, now and then if we just take few minutes and look within to re-establish our connection with God, then this practice will make it easier for us when we sit for our spiritual practices at the end of the day. So then another second advice which he gives is acquire the habit of holding constant conversation with God. So throughout the day, you have a conversation, you talk with God, you share your feelings with God. It may be very mundane, ordinary things, but you have that habit. Somehow that maintain that link and with that. And another thing is which in the way of a pilgrim, there was a Russian mystic, a hermetic. Yeah, there is a famous book, The Way of a Pilgrim. So in that book, that hermit, he advises this. He says, bring to God at first just quantity, that God will add quality to it. So initially you do not bother with how much concentration or how much devotion you repeat the now. You just do the quantity, as mother also told. You do 15,000, 20,000, 10,000, whatever it is. Do it even mechanically, even if it is dry. Force your mind to do it. But slowly, 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 the power will come. The way of a pilgrim, it is said, to pray somehow is within our power. but to pray purely is the gift of grace. So what is under our power, our capacity, we will do. We are not perfect. We have a lot of desires, imperfections. With that imperfection, we take the name of God. That is in our power. God will make it perfect. And another advice which he gives is if you want to do anything well, you have to do it often. Practice makes perfect. So if you want to attain perfection, you do it more. So these are the few things. The one thing is keep practicing even though it is dry, even though it is mechanical, slowly God, and keep praying. As Thakur told, keep praying to God to add some taste to that, and maintain your connection with God. Somehow keep your mind connected to spiritual things throughout the day. That will make it easier for you when you sit for your meditation at the end.
Thank you very much, Maharaji. And I just wanted to inform you that Amit Chatterjee is saying pranam to you.
Okay.
And any other question? Any other question? Then, if not, our friend Hirana Mukhopadhyay will kindly give vote of thanks. Any question? Any other question? So now I would request our friend Hirana Mukhopadhyay to kindly give vote of thanks to Maharajji and all the participants. Hirana Mukhopadhyay.
Maharaj, pranam Maharaj.
Namaste.
Wonderful lecture, Maharaj. And this quite a lot we learned from you. This is the problem. Nirmal asked the question. The same problem we face. Those who have been got initiation from Ramakrishna Mission or any other place, the dryness. Yes, on many days I feel very tired, exhausted, but mechanically I do it. Now I get inspiration from your lecture. Even if I do mechanically, let's do it. Do it mechanically. Don't break it. Thank you, Maharaj, again for the wonderful lecture. On behalf of all the devotees from Manila, from elsewhere, we convey our heartfelt pranam, Maharaj, again. Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you all. Pranams to Maharaj, Udaranandaji Maharaj. Pranam. See you again.
So, Maharajji, we will have informal session for 5 minutes. I will end the recording, but whether I'm wondering whether Udanlaji has to say something, and then we'll end the recording.
No, nothing. I don't have to say anything. Please, it was a very enlightening lecture. Very well delivered. Thank you very much, Maharaj. It was really very good. I think it will give a lot of inspiration whoever was listening.
So,
Thank you.
only one thing I just wanted to mention, just as a reminder, that is next Sunday we have lecture by Swami Vedapurshanandaji Maharaj, Secretary Ramakrishna Mission, Bolpur, West Bengal, India. At the same time, we'll send individual request also. The topic is importance of values in improving our lives. So now I will end the recording. So please give me 30 seconds to end the recording, and then I'll come back to you, so that you can say greetings, pranam to Maharajji, and if you have still some one or two questions, you can ask.